Hey LEGO fans, welcome back to the channel. As you can see behind me, we got the city moved. And we're going to show you how we did that coming up next on Around the Brick with Sherwood Forest Bricks. Alright, well, so it's been about a week and it took a fair bit of time for us to get going on this project. You can see here that we've pulled our bench out of the tool trailer and we're getting set up to cut some sheet goods. In order to make these shelves, we got melamine, and those are going to get broken down into the shelf portions themselves by 4 foot. Actually, it's 47 3/4 by 19 7/8. The goal was to be just slightly smaller than 48 inches, which is what those gondola shelvings are at, and they want to be just under 20 inches, which is about the distance of 2 base plates. So here you see me using a track saw and breaking down the material. I don't have an 8-foot track inside the trailer. I only have this 55-inch track, so that's why I broke it down the way I did. But if you keep track of where your cuts are at and use a square, you can definitely keep your material within reason. Now, this is literally just a shelf for Lego. This is not fine finish craftsmanship, but I did my best to keep everything neat and square. And that is where we went. So got a couple more clips here of going through the cut, and we'll see where that goes. So for the backdrop, we used the 3/16 inch masonite. Now on the other modules I used for the model railroad, I had acquired 1/4 inch masonite, which is quite a bit stiffer. But I also used that as part of the structural integrity of those modules themselves. In this case, I'm relying on the gondola shelving itself to be structural. So the 3/16 was all I needed. And it was all that they had at the big box store. So that's what I went with. You can see that it's a fairly cool day, a little bit breezy, and I have the bag on the Festool, which does a very good job of collecting the dust, but there's quite a bit of overspray. I don't think I showed on the video, but later on the bag was full for most of this project. So tip in the future, if you empty your dust collecting bag before you start, it usually does a better job of collecting dust. So you saw there, I did end up emptying the bag and the Festool itself. Then I used my little blower and blew off the dust. And then here after lunch, we came back out and we got ready to put the masonite onto the shelves themselves. Originally, I had stacked all these so that the good side was good side was up, because I was gonna attach the background, but I realized that it was way too windy to do that with that 3/16 board. So I flipped them over so that the top was down and the back was to me. You notice there I split that first one because I didn't pre-drill into the melamine itself, but it's okay. And after that, the wind really wasn't blowing against my thigh as much, so I was able to hold those up and pre-drill all of them in place. And those are just 3/4 inch wafer head screws. They're actually designed for sheet metal, but they work pretty good inside the melamine. Again, this isn't structural, it's just decorative. because those sit on those gondola shelves, they have to have some sort of lap piece to protect to hold them together. So I used the scrap material here, and don't worry about that tape measure. I won't cut it, I promise. We're just setting these to about 19.5 and cutting them down, and then we'll use the table saw to rip those to a manageable length. Get rid of that chop saw, bring out the table saw and rip those down. So they're about 3 inches by 19.5 inches, and then we'll pre-drill those to use more of those wafer-headed screws to attach the underside of the shelves when they get put in place. And as you notice, as always, I'm a proud supporter of Team Red, so go Milwaukee. All right, let's go put those together. So after I straightened up a little bit, got those out of the way, I brought in and started adjusting. You saw me measure there. I originally wanted to do the same, so I didn't have to move these brackets. However, when I measured the the cafe corner, it was a little bit taller than I wanted to without hitting the upper gondola shelving. So I wanted to have a building behind it at some point, potentially. So I moved everything out of the way, dropped that 2 inches down so that 23-inch backdrop would fit in there. And we're just using these hooks on the gondola shelving. It's like a adapter bar that I acquired. The problem with gondola shelving is it doesn't sit flat. It's not level. It kicks the shelf back about 5 degrees. So for retail, it's great. Stuff doesn't slide off the shelves, but I want to kind of be level here. So I use those hooks that actually, the back of them are about, let's say, a ½ inch lower than the front in that little hook part. And it bends down and it sits pretty close to level. So now once there's 200 pounds of Lego on this shelf, it may not work at all. And we'll tackle that problem when we get to it. But for now, we'll get all these put together. You saw me run and I had to grab that right angle adapter because some of those screws are a little hard to get with the other shelf in the way, and I didn't really want to disassemble everything to get this together. So I'm only really putting in 4 screws because I can't get to the back 2. But this piece really is just holding the 2 pieces together so it's nice and flush. And again, it's not fine woodworking. This is going to be covered in Lego, and we're going to paint that background, hopefully. So we're going to get everything out of the way. I'm going to wipe things down. A little squirt here. And wipe, get rid of that dust. And then now we're ready to move some buildings. Now, like I said before, got to get rid of the train part. That's 16 wide by 32 wide base plate. It's just not going to work with this new setup. But we can get these buildings brought over and reset up. So as you can see, we now have 24 feet of 20-inch deep, 23-inch tall shelving space for just the modular city that we've been building. We only have 50 inches so far, so that's a lot more space to go, but we do have a lot more of these buildings that we can build. And we will build them in accordance to the release date as we can, except for we'll have to mix it up for the corner buildings as they show up. Obviously, we need a corner building here. This one should be actually later, but that is what it is. We'll have to build more Mills plates, and we actually do want to paint this. I just don't have decided what. Probably some sort of sky blue. So, also we want to change these Mills plates out for something a little bit different. I'd like to change the road plate a little bit as we've talked in the past. I kind of want to get it down so that the middle here is the center of the road. So we have one lane, maybe a parking space or a bike lane like I talked about, then the sidewalk, then the modular building, and that gives us about 8 studs to the back where we can build a brick facade for some sort of office building or background building. That way we won't have this stark sky blue scene or picture or whatnot, but we have more Lego that we can do. And of course, that doesn't have to be done right away. We can always add it in. The benefit of being modular and the ability to stack and remove these items makes this infinitely flexible for us to continue to expand our city. Well, that's all we have for today. Thanks for tuning in to Around the Brick with Sherwood Forest Bricks. I'm Jeremy, and we appreciate you liking and subscribing and adding comments as you see fit. And as always, happy building. Take care, everyone.